Here's a story that's a little bit tougher to take than, say, Lindsey Vonn, saying that she didn't want to go to the White House, or, possibly the Americans losing in the Stanley Cup, listen to me, in the Olympics, in hockey, or for that matter, ETSU's lost to the Citadel last night. Serena Williams, she had a difficult pregnancy, said it almost killed her. So that's going to be a story that's going to be coming out a lot. I mentioned, I guess it was in the previous half hour, as we're in our final half hour here on Tri-City Sports Now. Hi, though, I'm Marky Billson, by the way. That careless editorial decisions forced ESPN to make changes in order to placate a sponsor, NBCSports.com's and NBC Sports Network's Mike Florio, with this very statement. And ESPN.com, it goes into the culture, oftentimes of sports writing and sports coverage. As I mentioned before, Mark Cuban's got a lot to answer, and I don't think he's doing it all that well in these sexual harassment claims in his organization, his Dallas Mavericks franchise. And I'm almost positive that although I do think it will create a black mark on Cuban's name, and I think it will prevent him from seeking office, as it had been discussed that he would, just to reiterate what I had said in the previous hour, I do think a lot of times you'll have media types trying to make excuses for Cuba. He couldn't have known all of this. And it's kind of a circumstance much like with Joe Paterno. Did Joe Paterno know? I believe he did. I think the evidence is out there. How could you avoid not knowing, hearing the rumors of when everybody, it seemed, knew about a culture of sexual harassment in the Mavericks front office? I'm concentrating on basketball. That's an unsatisfying answer, Mark. That's a real unsatisfying answer. And if you're focusing on basketball, then maybe you ought to know what your executives are doing. Anyway, so media likes to, take sides and all that. We know this. I take sides, Yeah, I do. Obviously. I'm very critical right now. Media watch. I do that from time to time. We got to organize this perhaps into a media watch next time. But I just want to get to this as a regular story. Preston Brown, NFL's leading tackler last year. And a story appeared on ESPN.com, and it read this way. How avoiding Wendy's helped Preston Brown become the NFL's leading tackler. Wendy's, as you might think, didn't like that. And so the headline was changed to How a Diet Helped Turn Preston Brown into the NFL's leading tackler. I think that Wendy's is in the right here. It's the famous movie Super Size Me, where a guy goes on a junk food eating binge at McDonald's, and also looks at McDonald's being, a source of food to poorer communities. They look at the McDonald's that's right outside the Ebbets Field apartments, literally catty corner to where Ebbets Field used to be, home of the Brooklyn Dodgers in years gone by. And there's an apartment building there, and it's low-income housing. And, so a lot of the people who live there, they go to McDonald's and eat, And let's face it, a lot of times when you eat at McDonald's, you're eating a Big Mac. And that was the whole idea of Super Size Me. The idea was to basically eat the unhealthiest food that the subject could. Now, there have been many other people that said, okay, we ate McDonald's for a month. We ate salads. We ate the healthier products. And guess what? We lost weight. But you're the guy eating the grease and the ice cream and all of that that's on the menu. And then you're blaming not your dietary choices, but the restaurant for selling these to you in the first place. At what point does the person eating the food have the responsibility? And I think that that's an old question, but I think that there's something to be said for that. The article promoting the story on ESPN actually read this: the key to becoming the NFL's leading tackler, don't eat Wendy's. Essentially, here's what happened. Preston Brown quit eating the hamburgers, and he ate salads and greens, all the fruit and vegetable stuff I should have been eating instead of stopping by a drive-thru. The problem is you can buy salads and mandarin oranges and all that from the Wendy's drive-thru if you so desire. I will admit I always like the Frosty. And this is the thing. The changes came in response from pressure from Wendy's. Wendy's obviously a nice sponsor of sports programming, and you can see where they wouldn't like this. Hey, why don't you get our healthy choices? But can't you see, isn't that so ESPN? Where, oh my goodness, they sell hamburgers. So they demonize the entire menu. Like I said, you can get salads, lots of healthy food at, just about any restaurant these days. So don't eat Wendy. And that was one of the whole things where they criticisms of the movie Super Size Me, if you remember that, where, and I'm repeating myself, forgive me, but there were people that went on, hey, look, I'm going to go on a McDonald's binge, but I'm going to go on a healthy binge. I'm going to go on a Wendy's binge. I'm going to go on a healthy binge. You know what? Subway, which always, eat fresh, and they were going to, the healthy choice. And I hate to talk about Jared the Sandwich Guy after, what it turned out that he became, but he was their spokesman for many years. Look at our healthy choices. You know what? You can eat at Subway. A lot of, even with all the baked lays and all that, there's a lot of soda pop there, the cookies. How healthy is the meatball sub? How healthy is the salami? And the bacon? And the mayonnaise, which goes into the tuna salad? Really, Subway? How healthy is it? Again, it's all what you order. But the simple lack of understanding of that, and instead of, an improved diet makes Preston Brown the NFL's leading tackler, they attack, business. In the remaining I've got in this segment here, I do want to, in our next segment, John Gruden is making a lot of news. A one-time would-be Tennessee coach, I suppose, in the hearts and minds of many of their faithful. How practical was that? I don't know. Probably never very practical at all. It's probably the prototypical Tennessee rumor, but it was enough to make John Curry, then the AD of the Volunteers, seek him out and talk to him. Would you like to coach the Vols? And I've always theorized, could that attraction from the Tennessee faithful have made him a coaching candidate again? He's been out of coaching 9 years. He's going back to the Raiders, and I've got some news on that as well. Also some baseball news. Tonight in college basketball, I want to get to this. Some games of local interest. Certainly North Carolina and Syracuse. North Carolina favored by 3.5 points. Look for Syracuse on the bubble to make the NCAAs. Look for Syracuse Oshani Brissett going up against Joel Berry II. If you watch the teams, you know this. Virginia playing Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech not very strong this year, obviously. Clemson and Virginia Tech, not Georgia Tech, but Virginia Tech. This surprised me. Virginia Tech, of course, they just came off an upset of the Wahoos, but Virginia Tech, trying to make their second straight NCAA tournament berth, they're favored by 3.5 points against the once-ranked Clemson Tigers. I was surprised to hear about that. You got the Iron Bowl going again on the hardwood. Auburn, Alabama. Auburn's a 7.5 point favorite. Duke is playing Louisville. Perhaps more scorn for Louisville now. What's the FBI really going to say about that? We know that, $100,000 to one of the recruits. Hey, Duke's favored by 11.5 points. That's not that big of a surprise. Florida's on the bubble. You know how Tennessee fans love to beat Florida in any sport. Vols favored by 5 points against the Gators tonight, and they need a bounce-back win to really ensure that they'll be a top 4 seed in the NCAAs. A lot of people asking, who is your coach of the year? Is it going to be Bruce Pearl, or is it going to be Rick Barnes? I almost think Barnes has this one advantage, even if Auburn does win the SEC regular season title, and that is that he's Rick Barnes. He's not Bruce Pearl. The FBI investigation, Chuck Person has already lost his job. There's some indication, I don't know, indication, probably not the best word, but there's a school of thought that Pearl, no matter how well he does as a coach this year in terms of wins and losses, might be on the chopping block next. We'll just have to wait and see what the FBI says, right? And that could come out around March Madness. I think that it would be embarrassing to the SEC if, yes, after scandal, your coach of the year is fired because of scandal. That would be very embarrassing. And I wonder if that isn't in the back of the minds of some voters, and they might actually choose a Barnes over a Pearl. Of course, the Vols are picked to finish next to last in the SEC this year. They're actually contending now, like I said, they're in the top 25 instead. So, tremendous turnaround there for Barnes, as he, at one point in his career made, in 20 years, 19 NCAA tournament berths at Texas and Clemson. And you know what? Those are football schools. So is Tennessee. He does pretty well under that environment. So say what you will. But yeah, I think that might be a reason to choose Barnes over Pearl. However, I will also tell you this. The most overrated award in all of sports is Coach of the Year or Manager of the Year. Why would Barnes make it this year? Why would he win it? Well, because Tennessee was picked to finish 13th. Doesn't that speak more of the incompetence of us in the sports media who make the pick, more so than Barnes himself and his ability to coach, which we all knew? If it is Barnes, if it is Pearl, they're ultimately winning Coach of the Year because the preseason media got it wrong. You've got a C.H. Adam asking all March Madness content or NFL upcoming free agent thoughts. There are about 30 free agents coming up in pro football. A.J. Mccarron, as we throw out there, he became a free agent recently. I'm surprised that Mccarron is thought of as being this, really hot commodity as a quarterback. I know he won the national championship at Alabama and such, and yeah, that has something to do with it, but I remember that playoff game that he had against the Steelers 2 years ago, and he did not look particularly good. So there's a reason, Andy Dalton, not a poor quarterback, but, you won a national championship at Alabama, and you're thought to be less than Andy Dalton. Is that really who you want, less than Andy Dalton, to be your savior? By the way, C.H. Adam asked Vols outlook for football. I've been talking about this major rebuilding project. Major rebuilding project. Ty Chandler, Trey Smith, that's all that I have. Real confidence going forward. Tougher schedule perhaps than last year with West Virginia on it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to ETSU UT. Tri-City Sports Now, I want to talk a little bit more about baseball, as well as John Gruden coming back.
J-Race Heating and Air.